Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our final night of horror and suspense. Broadcasting from WSCE Studios, St. Charles East Theater is proud to present a double feature for you tonight. I'm Austin Aquino.
And I'm Malia Kinnison. Before we begin, how about a word from our sponsor?
Little Sally, what have I said about crying at the table? Honey, she's crying again, and I am out of ideas.
Sally, I just don't know what to do. She is such a picky eater.
Well, someone ought to tell her there's a war on. When I was a child, we ate what we were given, and we were happy to do it.
I know, dear. I'll take care of it. Just read your paper. Now, little Sally, why don't you just eat your roast beef?
I don't wanna! Pot roast is icky!
How about a nice piece of fish?
Gross! I hate fishies! They eat worms!
I know. How about a nice chork sandwich?
What's a chork?
Only the tastiest meat hybrid ever. Here, take a bite.
I love chork! It's the best thing ever!
Quiet at last.
Chork, invented by science, enjoyed by all.
Over the last several weeks, we have told tales set in the past. Tonight we begin with a story taking place in the future. Turn out the lights and move closer to the glow of your radio dial as WSCE Radio presents Repent, Harlequin, said the TickTockMan by Harlan Ellison.
The mass of men serve the state thus, not as men mainly, but as machines with their bodies. They are the standing army, the militia, the jailers, the constables, the posse comitatus, etc. And in most cases there is no free exercise whatever of the judgment or of the moral sense. But they put themselves on a level with wood and earth and stones. And wooden men can perhaps be manufactured to serve the purpose as well.
Mermy, mermy, mermy.
And such command no more respect than men of straw, or a lump of dirt. They have the same sort of worth as horses and dogs, yet such as these even are commonly esteemed good citizens.
Good time, Senator.
Time moments instead.
Others, as most legislators, politicians, lawyers, ministers, and office holders,
Good time, Congressman.
Fine minutes, Amistad.
serve the state chiefly with their heads. And as they rarely make any moral distinctions, are as likely to serve the devil without intending it as God.
Mermy, mermy, mermy.
Look, an airboat buzzing the sidewalks.
A very few, as heroes, patriots, martyrs, reformers, in the great sense, and men,
Don't break stride.
serve the state with their consciences also.
It's pulling up.
And so, necessarily resist it for the most part.
Mermy, mermy, mermy.
Thousands, millions, it's raining color!
What did he drop on us?
It's jelly beans.
Jelly beans. Jelly beans. What are
The
jelly
sky.
beans?
And they are commonly treated as enemies by it.
Jelly for Chronos' sake beans.
Henry David Thoreau, Civil Disobedience, 1849.
Someone swoops down over the city in an airboat and bombs the population with jelly beans.
It is now the well-ordered year 2392 Daylight Universal Saving Time.
$150,000 worth, sir?
The situations analytics did exhaust the logo's rhythmic projections.
Where did he get the money? That's what I'd like to know.
For that matter, where did he get the jelly beans? According to narrow historians, no one has manufactured jelly beans in over 100 years.
What are they? What are they for?
They have no function. They call them treats. Massive criminal time waste.
Also, they are grotesquely anti-clock, wasting almost... What's a treat?
Shut up! My time-wise concern is that this anti-clock interruption delayed the sidewalks to the whole metro area by a full 7 minutes. The schedule is off by 7 minutes. That's what's important. Am I correct? My time-wise.
Oh, yes, Master Timekeeper.
Yes, the Master Timekeeper, also called the TickTockMan, in fact, mostly called the TickTockMan, but of course not to his mask, never to his mask.
7 long minutes lost. Strangled at birth. Dear, good little minutes. Gone forever.
You don't call a man a hated name. Not when that man behind his mask is capable of revoking the minutes, the hours, the days and nights, the years of your life.
The master schedule thrown off by a full 420 exquisitely honed seconds.
The system had been 7 minutes worth of disrupted. It was a tiny matter, one hardly worthy of note. But in a society where the single driving force was order and unity and symmetry and promptness and clock-like precision and attention to the clock, reverence of the gods of the passage of time, it was a disaster of major importance.
There's jangle in the smooth flow. Time is being wasted. Who's responsible for this outrage?
The file there gives his name as the Harlequin.
I've seen the name. It is a name that tells me what he is, not who he is. The time card I'm holding in my left hand has a name on it, Harlequin. But it is the name of what he is, a malcontent, a trickster, a clown, but not who he is. The cardio plate in my right hand is also named, but not whom named, merely what named. Before I can exercise proper verification, I have to know whom this what is.
Yes, indeed, sir. Absolutely.
Time-wise, it is jangled.
Nasty, Slavently, it is wasteful.
Who is this Harlequin?
They're after you, Everett. Look at this.
Ah, that's really disgusting. Disgusting and highly improbable.
Look, if I've warned you once, I've warned you ages worth.
Oh, after all, this isn't a day of the desperado. A wanted poster for crying out loud. Hey, we're gonna get him.
You speak with a great deal of inflection.
Oh, it's not inflection. It's imitation, really. And it's an old imitation.
You have got to be more careful.
I'm sorry, pretty Alice.
No need to be sorry. You're always saying, I'm sorry. You have such a massive guilt, Everett. It's really very, very sad.
I'm sorry. I have to go.
No!
Out. I have to do something.
No!
It'll only take 5 minutes.
Oh, Everett.
6 minutes?
For Chrono's sake!
7?
Everett! Can't you stay home just one night? Must you always be out in that ghastly clown suit, jingling those bells, running around and annoying people?
You don't like my bells?
No, not the bells. Bells, 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 bells!
Mermy.
Mermy. What is it supposed to mean?
Nothing. It's just an unconscious mnemonic I make when I'm idling.
No, it's amendment silliness is what it is.
I have to go.
Ugh.
8 minutes and not a nanosecond longer.
Wait, it's the fax box. Oh, it's about you. Of course, you're so ridiculous. And now the TickTockMan is trying to find you.
I don't care. I'm going to be out late again tonight. Just 10 minutes. About 10. And you speak with inflection, too.
You're so ridiculous. For Chrono's sake! What?
I'll be back by 10:30.
Right. Why do you tell me that? Why? You know you'll be late. You just know it. You're always late, so why do you tell me these dumb things?
I'm sorry.
A desk calendar. Day for day and turn each day. 9 o'clock, look at the mail. 9:45, appointment with planning commissioner. 10:30, discuss installation progress charts with JL. 11:45, pray for rain. Noon, lunch. And so it goes.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Grant. The time for interviews was 2:30. I specified 2:30, and it's almost 5 o'clock now. I'm sorry you're late, but those are the rules. You'll have to wait until next year to submit an application to this college again.
And so it goes.
The 1010 local stops at Cresthaven, Galesville, Tonawanda Junction, Shelby and Farnhurst, but at Indiana City, Louisville, and Colton except on Sundays. The 1035 express stops at Galesville, Shelby, and Indiana City except Sundays and holidays.
And so it goes.
I couldn't wait, Fred. I had to be at Pierre Carton's by 3 o'clock, and you said you'd pick me up at the Clock Terminal Tower at 2:45. You weren't there, so I had to go on. You're always late, Fred. If you'd been there, we could have sewn it up together. But as it was, well, I took the order alone.
And so it goes.
Dear Mr. and Mrs. Appleby, in reference to your son Gerald's constant tardiness, I'm afraid we're going to have to suspend him from school unless some more reliable method can be instituted guaranteeing he will arrive at his classes on time. Granted, he's an exemplary student and his marks are high, but his constant flouting of the school schedule makes it impractical to maintain him in a system where the other children seem capable of getting to where they are supposed to be on time.
And so it goes.
You cannot post here unless you are here at 8:45.
I don't care if the script is good. I need it Thursday.
Checkout time is 2 o'clock.
I couldn't wait. The job's taken. I'm sorry.
Your time ticket's been docked 20 minutes for time lost.
What time is it? I've got to run.
And so it goes. And so it goes. And so it goes. Goes. And one day, we will no longer let time serve us. We will serve time. And willingly let ourselves be duped into becoming slaves of the schedules, worshippers of the sun's passing, bound into a life predicated on corporate business restrictions because conglomerates rule governments and the companies know time is money. And the system will not function if we do not keep the schedule tight. Until it becomes more than a minor inconvenience to be late. It becomes a sin. And then a crime. And then a crime punishable by...
Effective July 15th, 2389, 12 o'clock midnight. The Office of the Master Timekeeper will require all citizens to submit their time cards and cardio plates for processing in accordance with Statute 555-7-SGH-99 governing the revocation of time per capita. All cardio plates will need to be in...
What they had done was to devise a method of curtailing the amount of life a person could have. If he was 10 minutes late, he lost 10 minutes of his life. An hour was proportionally worth more revocation. If someone was consistently considered tardy, he might find himself on a Sunday night receiving a communique from the Master Timekeeper stating,
Your time has run out. You'll be turned off. High noon Monday. Please straighten your affairs, sir, madam, or by sex.
and so, by this simple pro forma administrative interdiction, utilizing a scientific process we would explain in satisfactory detail were it not a dearly held secret of the TickTockMan's office, the system was maintained.
The flow is without jangle. Tick and talk, tick and talk.
It was the only expedient thing to do. After all, there was a war on. But isn't there always a war on? And so, well, just for example, at random...
Hello?
Mrs. Delahanty? Mrs. Marshall Delahanty?
Yes?
Executive Office of the Master Timekeeper. This is for your husband.
No. Oh, no. No, not the TickTockMan.
For your husband, the late Marshall Delahanty, who'll be late no more. Or official condolences.
Oh, no.
His wife received the turn-off notification, and she knew what it was, even without blowing it unsealed.
No, Marshall.
It was a billet doux of immediate recognition to everyone in these timely times. Marshall Delahanty tried to run. Early the next day, when turn-off time came, he was already deep in the Canadian forest, 200 miles away in the office of the TickTockMan, blanked his cardio plate. One light went out on the sector map in the office of the Master Timekeeper. While notification was entered for Frack's reproduction, Georgette Delahanty's name was entered on the dole rolls until she could remarry. And that's all the point that need be made. Except don't laugh. Because that's what happened, the Harlequin. If ever the TickTockMan found out his real name, it isn't funny.
The Harlequin is hereby ordered to appear before the Master Timekeeper.
The TickTockMan's order was broadcast across every channel in the communications web. He was ordered to be there at 7 o'clock, damn it, on time. And they waited. And they waited.
7 o'clock, no sign of him.
And they waited. And they waited.
Moonlight in Vermont.
There he is!
7:22 and 41 seconds.
Mermy.
What's a mermy?
What's a Vermont?
Harlequin vanished. They had all been waiting since 7 o'clock, and it wrecked hell with their schedules. So the question remained.
Who is this Harlequin?
He had fired off the firecracker rockets that said,
Attention bystanders. I will attend the 115th Annual International Medical Association Convention at 8 o'clock p.m. precisely. I do hope you'll all be able to join me.
Of course, naturally. Yeah, sure, of course. As expected, the authorities came.
7:40, Clockmeister. We can all be ready on time.
Don't fret your sweet treats, Second Doc. This loony's always late. We got plenty of time to prepare our traps.
Traps?
Yeah, spiderwebs restraints, they're called. Mine's almost ready. I just need this last final adjustment.
Hello, everybody!
Harlequin so unnerved the authorities with his sudden, loud, and early entrance that their own moisturized encirclement webs sucked close and they were hauled up, ticking, shrieking, high above the amphitheater floor.
Watch out for the chandelier, boys. Take 5, take 15. Don't worry, just hang out up there in the rarefied air. Sorry to interrupt your solemn conclave, fellas. I just had so much time on my hands. It was either wash them or let them drip all over you. Mermy. With friends like you, who needs enemas?
The physicians roared with laughter and accepted the Harlequin's apologies with exaggerated bowing and posturing, and a merry time was had by all. They all thought the Harlequin was a regular frou-for-all in fancy pants. Well, all that is, except for the Clockmeister cops who had been sent out by the office of the TickTockMan. They hung there like so much dockside cargo, hauled up above the floor of the amphitheater in a most unseemly fashion. The shopping level of the city was thronged with the Thursday colors of the buyers. Women in canary yellow kitans and men in shrink-tight outfits. Jade green was the color for men this season. Fit very tightly, save for the balloon pants.
Mermy, mermy, mermy. And as your eye looks towards the sky, give me a wink and I'll make you think.
When the Harlequin appeared in the still being constructed dome of the new Efficiency Shopping Center, his bullhorn to his elfishly laughing lips, everyone pointed and stared and began running late, and he berated them from atop the spire.
Why let them order you about? Why let them tell you to hurry and scurry like ants or maggots? Take your time, saunter a little, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the breeze. Let life carry you at your own pace. Turn off the speed of life. Don't be a slave to time. It's a hell of a way to die, slowly by degrees.
Some crackpot.
A fashion disaster, if you ask me.
Oh, wow, I'm gonna be late.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
And the construction gang on the shopping center received an urgent call.
Yeah.
This is the office of the Master Timekeeper. A dangerous fugitive known as the Harlequin is atop your spire. We need your immediate aid in apprehending him.
No can do, pal. We lose time on our construction schedule. We don't get ducked. You know how it is. Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Down with the TickTockMan! Down with the Master Timekeeper!
So, the TickTockMan managed to pull the proper threads in the government webbing, and the gang was told to cease work and catch that nitwit up there on that spire. Up there with the bullhorn!
Oh, tic-tac-toe, ticking in his tick-tock tush.
So a dozen or more burly workers began climbing into their construction platforms, releasing the agrav plates and rising towards the holodome.
No more!
Did they get him?
No, Master Timekeeper.
Did you say no? Am I hearing no?
Yes, sir.
You're hearing now.
He disappeared very quickly.
Very efficiently.
He vanished. Poof.
Just like that, sir.
Sir, no one was hurt.
No one was hurt. The shopping cycle was thrown off by hours. The purchasing needs of the system fell so far behind that measures had to be taken to accelerate the cycle for the rest of the day. But it got bogged down and sped up, and they sold too many float valves and not nearly enough wegglers, which threw off the poppy ratio, which necessitated rushing cases of spoiling Smasho to stores that usually only needed a case every 3 or 4 hours. Shipments were bollocks. Shipments misrouted. Even the swizzle skit industry felt it.
Oh, I've got stock in swizzle skits.
I have your cardio plates here in my left hand.
Oh, boy.
You see them?
Yes?
Do not come back until you have him. Not a sweet second sooner.
Your lima beans are done.
Oh, sweet, 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 pretty Alice.
Eat your lima beans.
One absolutely sweet, sweet, sweet week and a half or so it's been.
If you don't eat your lima beans, they'll get soggy.
I hate lima beans. Have you been catching the tall screen news reports? Did you see me at the Dyson Dome, huh?
Oh, yeah, you were humiliating. Lima beans are good for you. They strengthen the promptness tissues and social responsibility glands.
They cause night blindness, the staggers, the measles, beriberi, hoof and mouth disease, Dutch elm blight, and uncontrollable flatulence. And I wasn't even a little bit humiliating. I was wonderful, a hero of the people.
If they catch you, they will turn you off, Everett, and me along with you, because I love you, and because I live with you, and now I'm scared of you.
Please, I'd never let anybody hurt you, pretty Alice. I swear, look. Oh, I'm a lima bean.
I'm not a bad person, but I never asked for this. It's terrible. I'm afraid all the time. All I ever wanted was a new waggler, a few poppies, and a quiet life. So why are you doing this to me?
I'm not doing it to you, honey. I'm doing it to stop what they're doing to us, what we've become. This kind of living is what's terrible. I have to go.
Oh, Everett, no!
But I'll be back in a little while. Well, maybe more than a little while. Will you wait up for me?
I have to. I'm afraid to close my eyes.
Rest your eyes until I come back. Mermy, mermy, mermy.
Don't spit out the beans in the elevator.
Do not come back until you have him.
They used dogs, they used finks, they used probes, they used cardioplate cross-off. They used tapers, they used bribery, they used stick knights, they used intimidation, they used torment, they used torture, and they used more finks. They used cops, they used search and seizure, they used Fetterman incentives, they used fingerprints, they used the Batchian system. They used DNA, they used cunning, they used guile, they used treachery, they used Ralmitgum, but he didn't help much. They used applied physics, they used techniques of criminology. Oh, what the hell? They caught him.
Everett C. Marm, you're under arrest for the crime of sluggardliness,
Tardiness with lateness of forethought,
terminal procrastination,
chronic belatedness,
disturbing the peace.
and contempt of system.
You have the right to remain silent.
Well, after all, his name was only Everett C. Marm. A little fella. And he wasn't much to begin with, except a man who had no sense of time, but rather more courage than most average citizens.
Repent, Harlequin.
Get stuffed.
You have been late a total of 63 years, 5 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, 21 hours, 41 minutes, 59 seconds, 0.03111 microsecond. I'm gonna turn you off.
Well, scare someone else. I'd rather be dead than live in a world with a boogeyman like you.
It's my job.
You're nothing but a messenger. You're so full of it. You're a tyrant. You have no right to order people around and kill them if they show up late.
You can adjust. You can't fit in.
Well, unstrap me, Bright Eyes, and I'll fit my fist in your mouth. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
You are nonconformist.
Oh no, say isn't it so, Joe? That didn't used to be a felony.
It is now. Live in the world around you.
I hate it. It's a terrible world.
Not everyone thinks so. Most people enjoy it.
I don't, and most people I know don't.
That's not true. How do you think we caught you?
Because I let you?
A girl named Pretty Alice told us who you were.
No, she didn't. That's a lie.
It's true. You unnerve her. She wants to belong. She wants to conform. I'm gonna turn you off.
Sure you are. You're an idiot.
Repent, Harlequin.
Never. Get stuffed.
Take him away.
Mermy, mermy, mermy.
So they sent Everett C. Marm to Coventry. And in Coventry, they worked him over. It was just like they did to Winston Smith in 1984, which was a book that none of them knew about, but the techniques are really quite ancient. So they did it to Everett C. Marm.
What's your least favorite thing, Everett?
The TickTockMan.
That's a person, not a thing.
So you say.
What's your least favorite thing of all?
Could it be this?
No.
Aha, or this. Cuckoo, cuckoo.
No, no.
Cuckoo.
Soggy lima beans.
No, no, no.
How's this?
No, 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 no.
Maybe this.
Ah!
And one day, well, quite a long time later, the Harlequin appeared on the worldwide communications web, appearing elfin and dimpled and bright-eyed and not at all brainwashed. And he said,
I was wrong. It is a very good thing indeed, to belong, to be right on time. Hip-ho, and away we go.
See, he was just a nut after all.
If that's the way the system is run, just do it their way.
It don't pay to fight City Hall.
You mean the TickTockMan?
Oh yeah, him too.
and thus Everett C. Marm was destroyed, which was a loss because of what Thoreau said earlier. But you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. In every revolution, a few die who shouldn't. But they have to, because that's the way it happens. And if you make only a little change, then it seems to be worthwhile.
Excuse me, sir?
I don't know how to tell you this, but
You are 3 minutes late.
the schedule is a little bit off.
That's ridiculous. Check your watch. Mermy, 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 mermy. That was Repent Harlequins, The TickTockMan by Harlan Ellison.
After this short break from your local stations, we will return to the WSC players for the second of tonight's stories.
Welcome back to our performance, ladies and gentlemen. We will begin our second story in a moment, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Ladies, has this ever happened to you? It's 4:30 in the evening. You're exhausted from a long day of housework, ironing, and the endless trials rearing. The phone rings.
Hello, Smith residence.
Hello, sweetheart.
Roger.
Hey, sweetums. Great news. I invited the boss over for dinner and she accepted.
Wonderful. I'll get out the good china.
Just make sure the dinner is extra impressive. This could mean big things for my career. Word has it that Johnson's wife served a lackluster fish, and now he's counting boxes in a warehouse in Alaska. This dinner just has to go well. See you at 6. Love you.
Oh dear, I just don't know what to prepare. Chicken is just so ordinary, and with all those mad cow stories in the papers, I can't just serve beef. Let's look in the cupboard. What's this? It's a can of chork. Thank goodness.
It's chork, that delightful fusion of pork and chicken that can liven up any dinner party. With the smooth gray texture and gray presentation, Chork is the perfect canned meat for any formal dining situation. And with the flavor sealed in with the latest in canning technology, you know it will taste good.
I say, Roger, I don't remember the last time I've eaten this well. So, how do you feel about a corner office?
Oh, thank you, ma'am. And thank you, sweetums.
Don't thank me. Thank Chork.
It's Chork, the taste that nature forgot.
That Chork certainly sounds delicious.
I think I just got an idea for my next dinner party.
And speaking of dinner parties, let's switch the gear a bit. We take you in from the future to the present, at another little dining party taking place at an isolated manor house. Fun will soon turn to murder.
You are invited as WSCE players take you to Death's Head Manor.
There we go, all squared away and everything's perfect. Where is that tray of canapes? Regina?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that silver tray of cucumber sandwiches? This evening will be a dismal failure without cucumber sandwiches.
Well, I thought they were right here. I remember telling myself, that is a finger food you could set your watch to, says I. I thought again to myself, well, what on earth?
Regina, you served my eccentric great-uncle for years before he died under strange and, as of yet, unexplained circumstances. And since I inherited Death's Head Manor, your work for me has been exemplary. But right now, I need less talking from you and more canapé finding.
Yes, ma'am. You'll get yours, I tell you.
Did you say something?
No, ma'am.
Honey, I'm home.
Darling, how's the weather?
It's raining cats and dogs out there. I tell you. It looks like the bridge over the river might wash out. I just hope it holds over until our guests arrive.
I do wish that old bridge wasn't the only way on or off the island.
Well, as long as there are no other surprises tonight, our party will be a huge success. You did invite that mystery rider, didn't you? She may be old and eccentric, but I hear she's a real cut-up. I say, where are the cucumber sandwiches?
If I told her once, I've told.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farewell of Mount Jennings University, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving towards Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farewell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you. We seem to be having a bit of trouble with our transmitter. Instead of returning to Death's Head Manor, we give you the musical stylings of Maria Ramirez in the Meridian Room at Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York.
Ladies and gentlemen, following on the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch on any further disturbances occurring on the planet Mars. Due to the unusual nature of this occurrence, we have arranged an interview with noted astronomer Professor Pearson, who will give us his views on the event. In a few moments, we will take you to the Pearson Observatory at Princeton, New Jersey. We return you until then to the music of Maria Ramirez on the piano.
We are now ready to take you to Princeton Observatory at Princeton, where Carla Phillips, our commentator, will interview Professor Richard Pearson, famous astronomer. We take you now to Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carla Phillips, speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton. I'm standing in a large, semicircular room, pitch black except for the oblong split in the ceiling. Through this opening, I can see a sprinkling of stars that cast a kind of frosty glow over the intricate mechanism of the huge telescope. The ticking sound you hear is the vibration of the clockwork. Professor Pearson stands directly above me on a small platform, peering through a giant lens. I ask you to please be patient, ladies and gentlemen, during any delay that may arise during our interview. Besides his ceaseless watch of the heavens, Professor Pearson may be interrupted by telephone or other communications. During this period, he is at constant touch with the astronomical centers of the world. Professor, may I begin our questions?
At any time, Miss Phillips.
Professor, would you please tell our radio audience exactly what you see as you observe the planet Mars through your telescope?
Nothing unusual at the moment, Miss Phillips. A red disk swimming in a blue sea. Transverse stripes across the disk. Quite distant now because Mars happens to be at the point nearest to Earth in our position, as we call it.
In your opinion, what do these transverse stripes signify, Professor Pearson?
Not canals, I can assure you, Miss Phillips. Although that's the popular conjecture of those who imagine Mars to be inhabited. From a scientific viewpoint, the stripes are merely a result of the atmospheric conditions particular to the planet.
Then you're quite convinced as a scientist that living intelligence as we know it does not exist on Mars.
I say the chances against it are 1,000 to 1.
And yet how do you account for those gas eruptions occurring on the surface of the planet at regular intervals?
Miss Phillips, I cannot account for it.
By the way, Professor, for the benefit of our listeners, how far is Mars from Earth?
Approximately 40 million miles.
Well, that seems to be a safe enough distance.
Thank you.
Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Someone has just handed Professor Pearson a message. While he reads it, let me remind you that we are speaking to you from the observatory in Princeton, New Jersey, where we are interviewing the world-famous astronomer, Professor Pearson. One moment, please. Professor Pearson has passed me a message which he has just received. Professor, may I read this to our listening audience?
Certainly, Miss Phillips.
Ladies and gentlemen, I shall read you a wire addressed to Professor Pearson from Dr. Gray of the National History Museum, New York, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Seismographic registered shock of almost earthquake intensity occurring within a radius of 20 miles of Princeton. Please investigate. Signed, Lloyd Gray, Chief of Astronomical Division. Professor Pearson, could this occurrence possibly have something to do with the disturbances observed on the planet Mars?
Hardly, Miss Phillips. This is probably a meteorite of unusual size, and its arrival at this particular time is merely a coincidence. However, we shall conduct a search as soon as daylight permits.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 10 minutes we've been speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, bringing you a special interview with Professor Pearson, noted astronomer. This is Carla Phillips speaking. We are now returning you to our New York studio.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the latest bulletin from Intercontinental Radio News, Toronto, Canada. Professor Morse of McGill University reports observing a total of 3 explosions on the planet Mars between the hours of 7:45 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This confirms early reports received from American observatories. Now, near home comes a special announcement from Trenton, New Jersey. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object believed to be a meteorite fell on the farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton.
The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles, and the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched a special mobile unit onto the scene, and we'll have our commentator, Carla Phillips, give you a word description as soon as she can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, we return you to the Meridian Room, where Maria Ramirez is playing the piano. We take you now to Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carla Phillips again at the Willamette Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Professor Pearson felt as if he should stay at his post in the observatory, so he sent his daughter Ellie, who is also a professor at Princeton, in his place. Dr. Pearson and myself had made the 11 miles trip from Princeton in about 10 minutes, and, well, I hardly know where to begin. To paint for you a word picture of this strange scene before my eyes, like something out of a modern Arabian Nights. Well, I just got here. I haven't had the chance to look around yet. I guess that's it. Oh, yes, I guess that's the thing directly in front of me, half buried in a vast pit. Oh, it must have struck with terrific force. The ground is covered with splinters of a tree it must have struck on its way down. What I can see of this object itself doesn't look very much like a meteor. These are the meteors I've seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. It has a diameter of, what would you say, Miss Pearson?
What's that?
What would you say? What is the diameter?
About 30 yards.
30 yards? The metal on the sheath is... well, I've never seen anything like it. The color is a sort of yellowish white. Curious spectators are now pressing close to the object in spite of the efforts of the police to keep them back. Hang on just a moment. They're getting in front of my line of vision. Would you mind standing to one side, please?
One side.
While the policemen are pushing the crowd back, here's Mr. Wilmoth, owner of the farm here. He may have some interesting facts to add. Mr. Wilmoth, would you please tell the radio audience as much as you remember of this rather unusual visitor that dropped in your backyard? Step closer, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Wilmoth.
Well, I was listening to the radio.
Closer and louder, please.
Pardon me?
Louder, please, and closer.
Yes, sir, I was listening to the radio and kind of drowsing. That professor fellow was talking about Mars, I was half dozing.
Yes,
and half...
yes, Mr. Wilmoth. Then what happened?
As I was saying, I was listening to the radio kind of halfway.
Yes, Mr. Wilmoth, and you said you saw something?
Not first off, I heard something.
Oh, and what did you hear?
A hissing sound, like kind of like a 4th of July rocket.
Okay, and then what?
Turned my head out the window and could have swore I was asleep and dreaming.
Yes?
I seen a kind of greenish streak and then zingo! Something smacked the ground. Knocked me clear out of my chair.
Well, were you frightened, Mr. Wilmoth?
Well, I ain't quite sure. I reckon I was kind of riled.
Thank you, Mr. Wilmoth. Thank you.
Want me to tell you some more?
No. That's quite all right. That's plenty. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard Mr. Wilmoth, owner of the farm where this thing has fallen. And I wish I could convey the atmosphere. The background of this fantastic scene. Hundreds of cars are parked in the field in back of us. Police are trying to rip off the roadway leading to the farm, but it's no use. They're breaking right through. Cars' headlights throw an enormous spot on the pitch where this object's half buried. Some of the more daring souls are now venturing near the edge. Their silhouettes stand out against the metal sheen. Oh, just a moment. One man wants to touch the thing. Now he's having an argument with the policeman. And the policeman wins. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's something I haven't mentioned in all of this excitement, but perhaps it's becoming more distinct now. Maybe you've caught it on your radio. Listen. Do you hear it? It is a curious humming sound that seems to come from inside the object. Here, I'll move the microphone near. Now we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Oh, Dr. Pearson!
Yes, Miss Phillips?
Can you tell us the meaning of that scraping noise inside the thing?
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I see. Do you still think it's a meteor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial, not found on this Earth. But friction with the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in a meteorite. This thing is smooth and, well, as you can see, a cylindrical
Just
shape.
a minute. Something's happening. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this is terrific. The end of the thing is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw. It must be hollow.
She's moving!
Look, the darn thing's unscrewing.
Keep back. There. Keep back, I tell you.
Maybe this man's trying to escape.
It's red hot, the burns was in there.
Keep back there. Keep those idiots back.
She's off.
Look out there!
Stand back.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever witnessed. Oh, wait a minute. Someone's crawling out of the hollow top. Someone, something. I can see peering out of the black hole 2 luminous discs. Are those eyes? It might be a face. It might be a...
Oh, my.
Good heavens, something's wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. Now it's another one. And another. They look like tentacles to me. There, I can see the thing's body. It's large as a bear, and it glistens like wet leather. But that face, ladies and gentlemen, it's indescribable. I can hardly force myself to keep looking at it. The eyes are black and gleam like a serpent, and the mouth is V-shaped with saliva dripping from its rimless lips that seem to quiver and pulsate. The monster, whatever it is, can hardly move. It seems weighed down by, I don't know, possibly gravity or something. The thing's raising up. The crowd falls back now. They've seen plenty. This is the most extraordinary experience. I can't find words. I'll pull this microphone with me as I talk. I'll have to stop the description until I can take a new position. Hold on, will you please? I'll be right back in just a minute.
We are bringing you an eyewitness account of what's happening in Wilmoth Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. We now return you to Carla Phillips at Grover's Mill.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I on? Am I on? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back at a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmoth's garden. From here I can get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk. As long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. About, 30 of them. There's no need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain, I assume, is conferring with someone, but we can't quite see who. Oh, wait just a minute. Oh, yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted. The professor moves around one side, studying the object, while the captain and two policemen are out with something in their hands. Oh, I can see it now. It's, a white handkerchief tied to a pole. A flag of truce. If this creature knows what that means, and what anything means. Wait, something's happening. A humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a Wait, what is that? It's shot of flame springing from the mirror! The thing's throwing an advancing man! It strikes the head on. Oh, good lord, they're turning into flames! Now the whole field's caught fire. The woods, the ponds, gas tank of automobiles. It's spreading everywhere. It's coming this way. 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue our broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return you to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Indokoffer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars were undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We now continue with our piano interlude.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been handed a message that came in from Grover's Mill by telephone. Just a moment. At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead in the field east of the village of Grover's Mill. Their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition. The next voice you hear will be of that of Brigadier General Montgomery Smith, commander of the state militia at Trenton, New Jersey.
I've been requested by the governor of New Jersey to place the counties of Mercer and Middlesex as far west as Princeton and east of Jamesburg under martial law. No one will be permitted to enter this area except by special pass issued by state or military authorities. 4 companies of state militia are proceeding from Trenton to Grover's Mill and will aid in the evacuation of homes within the range of military operations. Thank you.
You have just been listening to General Montgomery Smith, commanding at the state militia at Trenton. In the meantime, further details of the catastrophe at Grover's Mill are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back into their pits and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of the firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. Combined fire departments of Mercer County are fighting the flames which menace the entire countryside. We have been unable to establish any contact with our mobile unit at Grover's Mill. We hope to be able to return you there at the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you... Just a moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Ellie Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Grover's Mill where she has established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, she will give you her explanation of the calamity. The next voice you will hear will be that of Ellie Pearson, brought to you by Direct Wire. Ms. Pearson?
Of the creatures at the rocket cylinder at Grover's Mill, I can give you no authoritative information, either as to their nature, their origin, or their purposes here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It is all too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It is my guess that in some way they are able to generate an intense heat in a chamber of practically absolute non-conductivity. This intense heat they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose by means of a polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition, much as the mirror of a lighthouse projects a beam of light. That is my conjecture on the origin of the heat ray.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a bulletin from Trenton. It is a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carla Phillips has been identified in a hospital in Trenton.
Now here's a bulletin from Washington, D.C. Office of the Director of National Red Cross reports 10 units of Red Cross emergency workers have been assigned to the headquarters of the state militia stationed outside Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Here's a bulletin from State Police Princeton Junction. The fires at Grover's Mill and vicinity are not under control. Scouts report all quiet in the pit, and no sign of life appearing in the mouth of the cylinder. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special statement from Mr. Henry McDonald, Vice President in charge of operations.
We have received a request from militia at Trenton to place at disposal of our entire broadcasting facility. In view of the gravity of the situation, believing that radio has a responsibility to serve the public interest at all times, we are turning over our facilities to the state militia at Trenton.
We take you now to the field headquarters of the state militia near Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
This is Captain Lansing of the Signal Corps, attached to state militia now engaged in military operations in the vicinity of Grover's Mill. Situation arising from reported presence of certain individuals of unidentified nature is now under complete control. The cylindrical object, which lies in a pit directly below our position, is surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry, without heavy field pieces, but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All cause for alarm, if ever such cause ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. The things, whatever they are, do not even venture to poke their heads above the pit. I can see their hiding place blatantly in the glare of the searchlights here. With all the reported resources, these creatures can scarcely stand up against heavy machine gun fire. Anyway, it's an interesting outing for the troops. I can make out their khaki uniforms crossing back and forth in front of the lights. It looks almost like a real war. There appears to be some slight smoke in the woods bordering the Millstone River, probably fire started by campers. Well, we ought to see some action soon. One of the companies is deploying on the left flank. A quick thrust and it'll all be over. Now wait a minute. I see something on top of the cylinder. No, it's nothing but a shadow. Now the troops are on the edge of Wilmouth Farm. 7,000 armed men closing in on an old metal tube. Wait, that wasn't a shadow. It's something moving. Solid metal, kind of shield-like affair, rising up from out of the cylinder. Going higher and higher. Why, it's standing on legs. Actually rearing up on some sort of metal framework. Now it's reaching above the trees, and the searchlights are on it. Hold on!
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Grover's Mill has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by any army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from Grover's Mill to Plainsboro, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, were burned to cinders by its heat ray. The monsters.
Okay. The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through its center. Communication lines are down from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic Ocean. Railroad tracks are torn and service from New York to Philadelphia discontinued except routing some of the trains through Allentown and Phoenixville. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and army reserves are unable to control the mad flight. By morning, the fugitives will have swelled Philadelphia, Camden, and Trenton. It is estimated to twice their normal population. At this time, martial law prevails throughout New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. We take you now to Washington for a special broadcast of national emergency, the Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts this country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon you, private citizens and public officials, all of you, the urgent need of calm and resourceful action. Fortunately, this formidable enemy is still confined to a comparatively small area, and we may place our faith in the military forces to keep them there. In the meantime, placing our faith in God, we must continue the performance of our duties, each and every one of us, so that we may confront this destructive adversary with a nation united, courageous, and consecrated to the preservation of the human supremacy on this earth. I thank you.
You have just heard from the Secretary of Interior speaking from Washington. Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. We informed the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communication due to the effects of the heat ray upon power lines and electrical equipment. Here's a special bulletin from New York. Cables received from English, French, German scientific bodies offering assistance. Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on planet Mars. Majority voice opinion that the enemy will be reinforced by additional rocket machines. Attempts made to locate Professor Pearson of Princeton, who has observed Martians at close range. It is feared she was lost in the recent battles at Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report 3 Martian machines visible above treetops, moving north towards Somerville with population fleeing ahead of them. Heat ray not in use, although advancing at express train speed. Invaders pick their way carefully. They seem to be making conscious effort to avoid destruction of cities and the countryside.
However, they sought to uproot power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to, crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society. Here's a bulletin from Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Raccoon hunters have stumbled upon a second cylinder similar to the first embedded in the Great Swamp 20 miles south of Morristown. Army field pieces are proceeding from Newark to blow up second invading unit before cylinder can be opened and fighting machine rigged. They are taking up position in the foothills of the Watchung Mountains.
Another bulletin from Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report enemy machines, now 3 in number, increasing speed northward, kicking over houses and trees in their evident haste to form a conjunction with their allies south of Morristown. Machines also sighted by telephone operators east of Middlesex within 10 miles of Plainsfield.
Here's a bulletin from Winstonfield, Long Island. Fleet of Army bombers carrying heavy explosive flying north in pursuit of enemy. Scouting planes act as guides. They keep speeding enemy in sight. Just a moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we've run special wires to the artillery line in adjacent villages to give you direct reports of the zone of the advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery of this 22nd Field Artillery, located in the Watchung Mountains.
Range, 32 meters.
32 meters.
Projection, 39 degrees.
39 degrees.
Fire!
140 yards to the right, sir!
Shift range, 31 meters.
31 meters.
Projection, 37 degrees.
37 degrees.
Fire!
A hit, sir! We got the tripod of one of them. They've stopped. The others are trying to repair it.
Quick, get the range! Shift, 30 meters.
30 meters.
Projection, 37 degrees.
37 degrees.
Fire!
Can't see the shell land, sir. They're letting off a smoke.
What is it?
A black smoke, sir. Moving this way. Lying close to the ground. It's moving fast.
Put on gas masks. Get ready to fire. Shift, 24 meters.
24 meters.
Projection, 24 degrees.
24 degrees.
Fire!
Still can't see, sir. The smoke's coming nearer.
Get the range. 23 meters.
Projection. 23 meters.
20 meters. 22 degrees.
Army bombing plane V-843 off Bayonne, New Jersey. Lieutenant Vaught commanding 8 bombers, reporting to Commander Fairfax Langham Field. This is Vaught reporting to Commander Fairfax Langham Field. Enemy tripod machines now in sight, reinforced by 3 machines from the Morristown cylinder, 6 altogether. 1 machine already crippled, believe hit by shell from army gun in Watchung Mountains. Guns now appear silent. Heavy black fog hanging close to the earth, of extreme density, nature unknown. No sign of heat ray. Enemy now turns east, crossing Passaic River into the Jersey marshes. Though it straddles the Pulaski Skyway, evident objective is New York City. They're pushing out a high-tension power station. The machines are close together now, and we're ready to attack. Plane circling, ready to strike. 1,000 yards and we'll be over the first. 800 yards. 600. 400. 200. There they go, the giant arm brake! Green flash is brilliant as a flame. 2,000 feet. Engines are giving out. No chance to release the bombs. Only one thing left. Drop on them. Play it all. We're driving on the first one. Now the engine's gone. Hey!
This is Bayonne, New Jersey. Call in Langham Field. This is Bayonne, New Jersey. Call in Langham Field. Come in, please.
This is Langham Field. Go ahead.
8 Army bombers. Engagement with enemy tripod machine over Jersey Flats. Engines incapacitated by heat ray. All crashed. 1 enemy machine destroyed. Enemy now discharging heavy black smoke in direction of...
This is Newark, New Jersey. This is Newark, New Jersey. Warning, poisonous black smoke pouring in from Jersey marshes. Reaches South Street. Gas mask useless. Urge population to move into open spaces. Automobiles use routes 7, 23, 24. Avoid congested areas. Smoke no spreading over Raymond Boulevard.
2X2L, calling CQ. 2X2L, calling CQ. 2X2L, calling 8X3R. Come in, please.
This is 8X3R, coming back at 2X2R.
How's reception? How's reception? Kay, please. Where are you, 8X3R? What's the matter? Where are you?
I'm speaking from the roof of the broadcasting building, New York City. The bells you hear are ringing to warn the people to evacuate the city as Martians approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads to the north. Hutchinson River Parkway still cut open for motor traffic. Avoid bridges to Long Island. Hopelessly jammed. All communication with Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago. No more defenses. Our army wiped out. Artillery, Air Force, everything wiped out. This may be the last broadcast. We'll stay here to the end. People are holding service below us, in the cathedral.
I look down the harbor, all manners of boats overloaded with fleeing population, pulling out from docks. Streets are all jammed, noise and crowds like New Year's Eve in the city. Wait a minute. Enemy now in sight above Pale Stays. Five great machines. First one crossing the river. I can see it from here, wading the Hudson like a man wading through a brook. A bulletin's handed to me. Martian cylinders are falling all over the country. One outside Buffalo, one in Chicago, St. Louis. Seem to be timed and spaced.
Look.
Now the first machine reaches the shore. He stands watching, looking over the city. His steel, cowlish head is even with the skyscrapers. He waits for the others. They rise like a line of new towers in the city's west side. Now they're lifting their metal hands. This is the end now.
Smoke comes out. Black smoke drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They're running towards the East River. Thousands of them dropping in like rats. Now the smoke's spreading faster. It's reached Times Square. People trying to run away, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. Now the smoke's crossing 6th Avenue. 5th Avenue. 100 yards away. It's 50 feet.
2X2L, calling CQ. 2X2L, calling CQ. 2X2L, calling CQ. New York? Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone? 2X2L.
As I record these notes, I am obsessed with the thought that I may be the last living woman on Earth. I've been hiding in this empty house near Grover's Mill, a small island of daylight cut off by the black smoke from the rest of the world. All that happened before the arrival of these monstrous creatures in the world now seems part of another life. A life that has no continuity with the present, furtive existence of the lonely derelict who speaks these words into this tape recorder. I look down at my blackened hands, my torn shoes, my tattered clothes, and I try to connect them with a father who lives at Princeton and who on the night of October 30th glimpsed through his telescope an orange splash of light on a distant planet. My father, my colleagues, my friends, my books, my observatory, my world. Where are they? Did they ever exist? Am I Ellie Pearson? What day is it? Do days exist without calendars? Does time pass when there are no human hands left to wind the clocks? In documenting my daily life, I tell myself that I preserve human history, recording over a tape that was meant to record the movements of the stars. But to speak, I must live, and to live, I must eat. I found moldy bread in the kitchen and an orange not too spoiled to swallow. I'll keep watch at the window. I see a Martian above the black smoke. The smoke still holds the house in its black coils. There's a hissing sound. I see a Martian mounted on his machine, spraying the air with a jet of steam as if to dissipate the smoke. Its huge metal legs are nearly brushing against the house. I'm so exhausted. I must try to fall asleep. Morning! Sun streams in the windows. The black cloud of gas has lifted, and the scorched meadows to the north look as though a black snowstorm has passed over them. I'll venture from the house today. I've made my way to a road, no traffic. Here and there, a wrecked car, baggage overturned, a blackened skeleton. I'll push on north. For some reason, I feel safer trailing these monsters than running away from them, and I keep a careful watch. I have seen the Martians feed. Should one of their machines appear over the top of the trees, I am ready to fling myself flat on the earth. I found a chestnut tree. October chestnuts are ripe. I fill my pockets. I must keep alive. For 2 days, I wander in a vague northerly direction through a desolate world. Movement! A living creature. A small red squirrel in a beech tree. I stare at him in wonder. He's staring back at me. I believe at this moment the animal and I are sharing the same emotion. The joy of finding another living being. I'll push on north. I find dead cows in a brackish field beyond the charred ruins of a dairy. The silo remains standing guard over the wasteland like a lighthouse deserted by the sea. Astride the silo perches a weathercock. The arrow points north. It's the next day. I've come to a city vaguely familiar in its contours, yet its buildings strangely dwarfed and leveled off, as if a giant sliced off its highest towers with a capricious sweep of his hand. I've reached the outskirts. It's Newark. Undemolished, but humbled by some whim of the advancing Martians. I have an odd feeling of being watched. Something crouching in a doorway. I'll step towards it. A woman! A human woman, armed with a large knife.
Stop. Where'd you come from?
I come from many places. A long time ago from Princeton.
Princeton? Huh? That's near Grover's Mill.
Yes.
Grover's Mill. There's no food here. This is my country. All this end of town down to the river. There's only food for one. Which way are you going?
I don't know. I guess I'm looking for people.
What was that? Did you hear something just then?
Only a bird. A live bird.
You get to know that birds have shadows these days. Say, we're in the open here. Let's crawl into this doorway and talk.
Have you seen any Martians?
Nah, they've all gone to New York. At night, the sky's alive with their lights. Just as if people were still living in it. By daylight, you can't see them. 5 days ago, a couple of them carried something big across the flats from the airport. I believe they're learning how to fly.
Fly?
Yeah, fly.
And it's all over with humanity. Well, stranger, there's still you and I. 2 of us left.
They got themselves in solid. They've wrecked the greatest country in the world. Those green stars. They're probably falling somewhere every night. They've only lost one machine. There isn't anything to do. We're done. We're licked.
Where were you? You're in a uniform.
Yeah, what's left of it. I was in the militia, National Guard. That's good. Wasn't a war any more than there's war between men and ants.
We're eatable ants. Found that out. What will they do with us?
I've thought it all out. Right now, we're caught as we're wanted. The Martian only has a few miles to go to get a crowd on the run. But they won't keep doing that. They'll begin catching us systematic, like keeping the best and storing us in cages and things. They haven't begun on us yet.
Not begun.
Not begun. All that's happened so far is because we don't have the sense enough to keep quiet, bothering them with our guns and such stuff, and losing our heads and rushing off in crowds. Now, instead of our rushing around blind, we've got to fix ourselves up. Fix ourselves up according to the way things are now. Cities, nations, civilization, progress. Done.
But if that's so, what is there to live for?
Well, there won't be any more concerts for 1,000,000 years or so, and no more nice little dinners at restaurants. If it's amusement you're after, I guess the game's up.
What is there left?
Life. That's what! I want to live! Yeah, and so do you! We're not going to be exterminated, and I don't mean to be caught either, and fattened and tamed and bred like an ox.
What are you going to do?
I'm going on, right under their feet. I've got a plan. We men as men are finished. We don't know enough. We've got to learn plenty before we've got a chance, and we've got to live and keep free while we learn. See? I've thought it all out. See?
Tell me the rest.
Well, it isn't all of us that were made for wild beasts, and that's what's got to be. That's why I watched you. All these little office workers that used to live in these houses, they'd be no good. They haven't any stuff to them. They just used to run off to work. I've seen hundreds of them running wild to catch their commuter train in the morning for fear that they'd get canned if they didn't. Running back at night afraid that they won't be home in time for dinner. Lives insured and a little invested in case of accidents. And on Sundays, worried about the hereafter. The Martians will be a godsend for those guys. Nice, roomy cages, good food, careful breeding, no worries. After a week or so of chasing about the fields on empty stomachs, they'll come and be glad to be caught.
You've thought it all out, haven't you?
You bet I have! And that isn't all! These Martians will make pets of some of them. Train them to do tricks, and who knows? Get sentimental over a pet boy who grew up and had to be killed. And some, maybe they'll train to hunt
No,
us.
that's impossible. No human
Yes,
being.
they will! There are men who will do it gladly. If one of them ever comes after me, why?
Well, in the meantime, you and I and others like us, where are we to live when the Martians own the Earth?
I figured it all out. We'll live underground. I've been thinking about the sewers. Under New York, there are miles and miles of them. The main ones are big enough for anybody. And then there's the cellars and vaults, underground storerooms, railway tunnels, subways. You begin to see, eh? And we'll get a bunch of strong folks together. No weak ones that rubbish out.
And you meant me to go.
Well, I gave you a chance, didn't I?
We won't quarrel about that. Go on.
And we've got to make safe spaces for us to stay in, see? We'll get all the books we can. Science books. That's where smart ones like you come in, see? We'll raid the museums. We'll even spy on the Martians. It may not be so much that we have to learn before. Just imagine this. 4 or 5 of their own fighting machines suddenly start off. Heat rays, right and left, and not a Martian in them. Not a Martian in them! But us, humans who have learned the way how. It may even be our time. Gee, imagine having one of them lovely things with its heat ray, wide and free. We'd turn it on Martians. We'd turn it on men. We'd bring everybody down to their knees.
That's your plan.
You and me and a few more of us. We'd own the world.
I see.
Say, what's the matter? Where are you going?
Not to your world. Goodbye, stranger. After parting with the artilleryman, I came at last to the Holland Tunnel. I entered that silent tube, anxious to know the fate of the great city on the other side of the Hudson. Cautiously, I came out of the tunnel and made my way up Canal Street. I reached 14th Street, and there again were black powder and several bodies, and an evil, ominous smell from the gratings of the cellars of some of the houses. I wandered up through the 30s and 40s. I stood alone on Times Square. I caught sight of a lean dog running down 7th Avenue with a piece of dark brown meat in his jaws and a pack of starving mongrels at his heels. He made a wide circle around me, as though he feared I might prove a fresh competitor. I walked up Broadway in the direction of that strange powder, past silent shop windows displaying their mute wares to empty sidewalks, past the Capitol Theater, silent, dark, past a shooting gallery where a row of empty guns faced an arrested line of wooden ducks. Near Columbus Circle, I noticed models of 1939 motor cars in the showrooms facing empty streets. From over the top of the General Motors building, I watched a flock of black birds circling in the sky. I hurried on. Suddenly, I caught sight of the hood of a Martian machine standing somewhere in Central Park, gleaming in the late afternoon sun. An insane idea! I rushed recklessly across Columbus Circle and into the park. I climbed a small hill above the pond at 60th Street. From there, I could see. Standing in a silent row along the mall, 19 of those great titans, their cowls empty. Their great steel arms hanging listlessly by their sides. I looked in vain for the monsters that inhabit those machines. Suddenly, my eyes were attracted to the immense flock of black birds that hovered directly below me. They circled to the ground, and there before my eyes, stark and silent, lay the Martians, with the hungry birds pecking and tearing brown shreds of flesh from their dead bodies. Later, When their bodies were examined in the laboratories, it was found that they were killed by the putrefactive and disease bacteria against which their systems were unprepared, slain, after all man's defenses had failed, by the humblest thing that God in his wisdom put upon this earth. Before the cylinder fell, there was a general persuasion that through all the deep of space, no life existed beyond the petty surface of our minute sphere. Now we see further. Dim and wonderful is the vision I have conjured up in my mind of life spreading slowly from this little seedbed of the solar system throughout the inanimate vastness of sidereal space. But that is a remote dream. It may be that the destruction of the Martians is only a reprieve to them, and not to us. It is the future ordained, perhaps. Strange it now seems to sit in my father's study at Princeton, recording this last chapter of something begun at a deserted farm in Grover's Mill. Strange to see from my window the university spires dim and blue through an April haze. Strange to watch children playing in the streets. Strange to see young people strolling on the green, where the new spring grass heals the last black scars of a bruised earth. Strange to watch the sightseers enter the museum where the disassembled parts of a Martian machine are kept on public view. Strange when I recall the time when I first saw it. Bright and clean cut, hard and silent, under the dawn of that last great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Austin Aquino.
And Malia Kinnison, here to assure you that the War of Worlds has no further significance than as the October offering it was intended to be. It's the WSCE player's version of dressing up in a sheet and saying boo.
Not being able to perform in front of you, we did the next best thing. We annihilated the world before your very ears and utterly destroyed WSCE. You will be relieved, I hope, to learn that we didn't mean it and that both institutions are still open for business.
So good night, everybody, and goodbye. We thank you for joining us in our little distraction over the last several weeks. This has been Malia Kinnison,
Austin Aquino,
Meredith Musial,
Megan Yarusso,
Ryan Ford,
Ava Johnson,
Kevin Menezes,
Andrew Moran,
Elizabeth Nowak,
Kira Danker, with Maria Ramirez on keyboard, Alex Pellin on video, Peyton Smith on sound,
Grace Condon, and Katie McConnell with stage managing and lights.
and now WSCE is signing off for the broadcast today.
Good night and pleasant dreams.